Hello everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're covering the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl. So we're going to go through every single Patriots passing snap from the first quarter through the third quarter. I'm not covering the fourth because I felt like that was an entirely different game. The Seahawks were playing a lot softer. Drake Maye was basically just able to let it fly because had nothing to lose. He was playing fearless. So it wasn't really related to the first three quarters, but those first three quarters, man, the Seahawks lights out defense. Drake Maye made some mistakes, so we're going to go through, see what the film says. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but before I start, make sure you like and subscribe. But here comes the video. The first drop back came on a 3rd and 2 in that first drive, and on this play, you see Drake Maye motions Ramondre Stevenson in. Now, when he motions him in, you can really tell that they're in a cover 3. You have that single high safety, and then you have the 4 underneath defenders and the 3 deep defenders. So Drake Maye does a good job. I think he sees this coverage, and he ends up processing it decently. It could have been a little bit better, but you have a spacing concept, so you're going to have a quick little hitch here and then a flat from the running back. And if this flat defender settles on the hitch, then you hit the flat. If the flat defender sprints out to the flat, then you hit the hitch. Now, if the flat defender were to sprint out all the way to the flat, and then this hook defender were to rotate over and take the hook, then you work to the dig on the backside. But since you see that this flat defender does kind of wait a little bit, he hesitates right there on that hook. Drake Maye, I thought, could have done this a little quicker, but he does get the ball out to the flat in good enough time. They pick up the first down on a 3rd and 2. Ramondre Stevenson makes a nice play. The second rep comes on a 1st and 10 that same drive, and I thought this was just a solid play from the Patriots. It seems like their opening game script was decent. I mean, you have a flood concept here, and that typically works well against the Seahawks because they run so much zone coverage. So you get the fade from Matt Collins, you get the deep out from the tight end, and then you get a flat from Demario Douglas. So you basically just read this flat defender. If he travels more vertically and he's going to settle on this like deep out corner, then you hit the flat. And that's exactly what we see here. This is a solid play. It picked up 8 yards on a 1st and 10. So really not much special about that one. This was the first big missed opportunity from the Patriots because on this 1st and 10, they run a post wheel concept. So Booty's going to be running this post, and then you get Demario Douglas running the wheel. And you notice that the Seahawks, they do this all the time. They match up Devin Witherspoon with Booty. So, like, he's basically just going to man up with him. Now, you still have that flat defender, but you notice that the wheel just completely clears that flat defender. So, he was wide open. But then you look at the damn offensive line. Will Campbell gets beat by Derek Hall, and then the left guard literally helps out the defense here by throwing the edge into Drake Maye. So, that's not on Drake Maye. He could not have hit that wheel. Maybe like right now if he were to like loft it in there, but that's asking a lot, especially from a young quarterback. So this was just terrible offensive line play, but an absolutely huge missed opportunity, and they try to come back to that later in the game. So make sure you remember this play. Now, this 2nd and 20 is interesting to me because they came out in this 3-by-1 set, and they motioned Stefon Diggs in. Now, they did that motion a lot. I'm not sure if they saw something, but you're going to see it again. That was a pretty common motion from them, so I don't know. I don't know for sure. I just wanted to mention it. But you do see on this play that Stefon Diggs gets kind of just like this free release on a seam, and he's working in between these 2 deep safeties. You rarely ever get somebody running vertically against the Seahawks without a match defender like you see from Woolen, and I think that's Josh Jobe right there. So you rarely ever see that, which is why I think when Drake Maye climbs this pocket, like right now, he has a great throwing lane to hit Diggs. You have that deep half rotating over to guard the receiver running the fade because this is a cloud flat. And it's just like, you need to rip this ball. You don't get this kind of route against the Seahawks very often. They are so disciplined. And when you get a receiver this open, it's not like super open, but it's open enough that you just got to be willing to rip it right here. Instead, he takes it. I think he was maybe a little nervous to make a mistake. It was early in the Super Bowl. Wasn't a bad play or anything. It's just like, I think he should have done it to Diggs right there. Now, this is where we see some brilliant scheming from Mike Macdonald because, like I said on the main page, on 3rd downs, he knew based off a film study that the Patriots never ran stuff like a quick hitch or like a quick out or a quick slant from that slot receiver on 3rd downs when you see these 3-by-1 sets. So Mike McDonald would just bring Witherspoon because he doesn't really have to guard this area of the field. So you overload this side of the offensive line. They all slide this way. And then when Witherspoon comes, there's nobody left for him. You drop two guys off. Those guards they thought they were occupied, so they aren't going to slide out and pick up Witherspoon. So he comes free. That is a terrible situation for Drake Maye. And in my opinion, I think the Patriots should have had a check. Like, they needed a better game plan against the blitz because they know Mike McDonald blitzes a lot. Now, Drake Maye is phenomenal against the blitz, but why do you not have like a quick check in where if you see a nickel blitz come, like you see here, why is your guy still running vertically downfield? That makes no sense to me. In almost every advanced system I've seen, if the nickel blitzes off of a 3x1 set, you just run the quick little hitch, you get the head around, and Drake Maye drills it in quickly. But, I mean, that was weird to me. But great play call from Mike McDonald, because they knew that the Patriots wouldn't do that. Results in a throwaway. They have to punt right there. So great stuff from Mike McDonald, but weird stuff from the Patriots. Now we're on to a 1st and 10 in the second drive, and this is the last first down pass until the second half on the second drive. What are you guys doing? Why are you calling only runs on first down? It continuously set them up in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7, and then that would lead to 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 9, stuff like that. You can't win against the Seahawks defense only running on first down. So that was a huge critique of mine against Josh McDaniels' game plan for this offense, because I thought that was atrocious. And you see that they actually had an effective play here on a pass on first down. So they motion Douglas across and then run play action. The play action is very effective. It brings the linebackers down, and then you get a hook wheel, curl wheel combination dialed up. And Drake Maye does a good job climbing this pocket. He gets beat around the edge. Like, I thought this was great stuff from Drake Maye, and he ends up hitting the curl here, but I do think he could have hit the wheel going down the sideline. If you look at it, he has some good separation right here, and he ends up getting a few yards down the field. If Drake Maye could have hit that, that would have been a huge play, but it's still a good play. Like, he got 20 yards here. He does a great job fitting this right in the window. He sees both zone defenders kind of breaking out away from the receiver. I thought he did a great job fitting it in there, but that was maybe another big missed opportunity on that wheel. So once again, though, they're going to try and come back to it, so it's something to remember. Now, this is a 2nd and 13, and I find this one very interesting because you have this, like, show blitz. You have 6 guys showing pressure, and they're only blocking 5. So you know somebody's coming free, and with your film study, you would probably guess that somebody is dropping off into coverage, and then this guy's coming. That's just how Mike McDonald operates. So you know that more than likely this guy is hot. Like, he's the one coming free. You're going to have to get the ball out quick. And when you see this, like, press technique on that receiver on the outside, what I would be thinking is, like, 2 things. You got to look for this man coverage and this man coverage. And then if it turns into zone, then you got to read him. And when it does turn into zone, he blitzes. So you know you got to get the ball out quick. Then it becomes an easy read of this defender. And I think Drake Maye was just a little rushed here. Like, it seems like he's just nervous, like he's playing scared, because this ball comes out a little bit quicker than it needed to be. He still had about 5 yards between him and that blitzer, and he threw it way too quickly to Travion Henderson, who gets stuffed by Josh Jobe, and they lose yards here because it looks like he's just playing this, like, jam technique and then just settles on the flat. If he had just ripped it into the slant and waited, like, until about right now, you notice that Josh Jobe would have come off. And if he rips it right here, that's a much more successful play. I thought he should have been a little bit more patient on that rep, but he throws it out to Henderson and they lose yards. So that was not good from Drake Maye at all. But this is an awesome blitz dialed up from Mike McDonald. You drop 2 into coverage, you get that free rush. rusher. And then what a play from Josh Jobe, really jamming down and then making the play in the flat. That was good stuff from Josh Jobe. Now on a 3rd and 15, we go right back to that 3rd down 3x1 blitz. You get the 3x1 set. Mike McDonald's bringing Witherspoon from the nickel once again. He's going to drop somebody on the opposite side off, and you get Devin Witherspoon coming as a free rusher. He gets home for a sack. We looked at that on the main page. Mike McDonald's a freaking genius, but once again, Patriots, what are you doing? Like, why do you not have an automatic check where if this guy comes, you just turn your head around? Like, every good system has that, I swear, but not for the Patriots, I guess. All right, now we're on to the 3rd drive. There's only one example from the 3rd drive because they went 3 and out and they ran the ball on 3rd down. That's a great play call. But anyway, here we get an RPO. And they're going to try and hit Hunter Henry here, and the play call is great. I mean, you get the run action, so the center pulls around. Now, they did get a little unlucky on offense because they slanted that defensive tackle to the inside, and that guard had trouble picking him up. But when you pull that center like that, it really looks like run, so it brings the linebacker down. The edge isn't really getting to too much depth, so Drake Maye makes the right decision here. He's going to throw it to Hunter Henry, but like this is a 10-yard in-air throw. You have to hit this ball. It's got to be more accurate than that. Over the middle, you can't leave it that high. You gotta make a better throw than that. And on a 2nd and 5, that's an easy 1st down. Instead, it misses. Hunter Henry maybe could have caught it, but then, I mean, he gets drilled, and it's just Drake. You gotta hit that, man, especially in the Super Bowl. All right, next drive, we have a 2nd and 7, and the Seahawks here run man coverage. It's a rare example of them running man. They don't do it that often, but they get great man coverage. Witherspoon has great coverage down here. You get a great rotation into the flat, which I think is where Drake Maye was looking, but I mean, that's great coverage down there. And then maybe the only thing he could have hit is the crosser, but for the most part, that is just really good man coverage. The only criticism I have of Drake is he maybe could have reset the pocket a little bit, had a little better pocket presence. When you look at it, he like climbs directly into the pass rush. Now, that being said, what an atrocious rep from that left guard. He got annihilated, and that was a great sack from the Seahawks there, but that's a good kind of summary of the game. Them getting a lot of pressure with 4 players, because when they can do that, that is brutal for an offense. All right, now the next play is a 3rd and 17, so this is just a little bit weird because they run an RPO screen. And Drake Maye throws the screen. I don't know why he would throw this. Maybe he was automatically throwing this because it's 3rd and 17 and just wanted to get it out to the flat. And like they pick up 5 yards. So otherwise it would be a fine play. It's just 3rd and 17. So the reason I'm confused as to why he threw it is because look at the defense. You have a 3-on-2 matchup out there. In what case do you ever throw the screen there? And like you just hand it off here. I mean, look at this. You get the puller that's going to lead up through the gap, and then you run it right behind him. I feel like that would have been a lot more effective, but Drake throws it. Weird decision on my end. Maybe that was just built in, but that's a 5-yard play on a 3rd and 17. That's pretty insignificant. And then I honestly think this was Drake's worst rep of the day. It was a 2nd and 7, and like I understand he's near his own end zone, but this was terrible because as he drops back, his first read is over here, and he leaves it so quickly. Like he gets out of that read so fast. Even his like quick hitch hasn't fully developed, and that would have been pretty open. Like he could have hit that. And then you also get Witherspoon carrying the vertical release, so you could have hit the flat from your running back there. But then what really makes this bad is that if this is your first read on the play, then you probably should just throw it because you have another quick developing route distribution on the opposite side. And like you saw the Rams do this a lot against the Seahawks, where you would just have like a quick hitch and then a dig right over the top. And Matt Stafford consistently hit that dig against the Seahawks, like going to Puka or Devontae Adams. And Drake Maye tries to hit that dig right here. Now, that's a fine decision. I'm not not mad at that at all. It's worked before. But if you want to throw that dig, I don't understand why your first read is over there. You need to just immediately look here, get that flat defender settling on the hook, and then you got to rip that dig right now. Like, that ball's got to be releasing right now. You got to settle it in like right about there, and you hit that dig right there. But instead, he waits too long. It's a behind the receiver. It's a late throw. It's just badly timed. This just seemed very rushed, like he didn't know where he wanted to go with the football. Maybe he was afraid of taking a safety, but like, you could have hit Diggs here. You could have hit Hollins right here. You could have hit the flat. There were a lot of options, and I just thought he screwed this up brutally. Luckily, though, he followed it up with a really nice read, because here the Seahawks are going to rotate this defensive back out, and then Eamon drops into coverage. So you have like a deep out-breaking curl from Demario Douglas here, and Drake Maye does a great job reading this, because as soon as this player rotates back, then that means it's no longer like what looks like man coverage. So then Drake is able to identify the mismatch and leverage. You have Eamon inside. He's breaking out in the quick curl, and he drills it in there. That's a great play from Maye. If he could have done that all game, this would have looked totally different. And this Seahawks defense is just so sound. Like, they are so technically fundamentally good, because here the Patriots are running this play action boot where they fake the zone to the left. And like, the edge is just not fooled at all, despite the fact that the Patriots have been running that often throughout this game. He does not break contain. He's going to be all over Maye, and it completely disrupts his pass. I think that was a phenomenal play from the Seahawks defense, because they totally had the flat from the tight end right there, but the edge just made a great play. So that was, I thought, just pure Seahawks defense dominance. Now, this is their last pass attempt of the first half, and you see that similar motion from Stefon Diggs once again. Not sure what they were trying to do with it, but they did constantly repeat that. I feel like I probably could figure it out, but I'm not going through all of that. But anyway, so you can see how situationally aware the Seahawks defense is, because Riq Woolen, as he drops back, like, he doesn't give up too much space past that first down marker. You see the safety, he rotates down, or he honestly just stands right at the first down marker. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. He takes away the crosser, and then you see the other DB, like, he's aware of Hunter Henry, but understands, like, he doesn't have to be fully all over him because he's so much shorter than the first down marker. And then you have Josh Jobe playing a press bail, and he's all over the deep fade to Mac Hollins. Like, this is just great defense. This is really good defense. And Drake Maye kind of misses the throw, but like, there's not much he could do there. And you got to keep in mind, they did all of this while bringing 6. So like, that secondary is unbelievable. And oh my lord, do we have to give Mike Macdonald his flowers. First play of the second half. Guess what the Patriots go to? That post wheel combo. They try and get that runoff with Devin Witherspoon to carry him and then hit the wheel, but Mike Macdonald has his guys prepared. They saw that they could have had that vulnerability in the first half, and they immediately fixed it at halftime, because this time you see Eamon just mans up with Demario Douglas. Maye was basically predetermined who he was going to, because that wheel from Demario Douglas had been open twice now. But I mean, the Seahawks adjusted just like the Patriots tried to adjust. Eamon worries all over it. That's an incomplete pass. What a defensive adjustment. Now on a 3rd and 3, you see that they motion in Diggs, just like on that same motion once again. But then this time they do come out in that 3-by-1 set on a 3rd down. So you'd expect them to bring Witherspoon here. Now they show a very similar blitz. I'm thinking Mike Macdonald just called this to kind of mix it up, because he didn't just want to constantly bring Witherspoon, and you can kind of tell that they might have had something dialed up with like the quick dig. If they had brought Witherspoon, he might have been open there. So I do think this is a good defensive play call, but like I mentioned in my preview video for before the Super Bowl, you notice that they always run backside Meg on those 3-by-1 sets on 3rd down. So they just run man coverage everywhere the receiver goes with Josh Jobe, usually on that backside receiver. And like here, here, they tried to hit the quick little hitch to him, and Josh Jobe was just locked down, literally pushed Booty out of bounds. That is unreal defense. And man, Josh Jobe is underrated. Like, he played a lights out game in the Super Bowl. Now, I thought this was another missed opportunity for the Patriots because the Seahawks are showing this single high safety. So they don't do that often. When they show that single high safety, I think you need to take a shot because otherwise you're not going to be able to at other times in the game. And you have these two deep routes. You get Diggs working against Witherspoon and then Booty working against Tariq Woolen. And they're in that same cover three that we saw in the first snap of the game. And you see Booty has decent leverage. Like, you could have thrown it up to Booty. We've seen him make more incredible catches. But more importantly, you had Diggs, and he had really good leverage here against Witherspoon. I thought Drake Maye easily could hit this ball to Diggs down the sideline. Like, they've done that all year. He had a couple steps on Witherspoon. I would have liked to see Maye rip that. Now, he had plenty of time here. The offensive line did a great job. They picked up the stunts well. Drake Maye did a good job adjusting the pocket, and he was able to hit the dig working across the middle. He missed the throw, though. Like, this is what I'm talking about. When he has the opportunity to do something, and against the Seahawks defense, you've got to be able to make those opportunities count. You can't miss those throws and expect to win the game. And that's exactly what we saw. He misses that throw. That is huge. Like, that is a huge miss right there. Now, to be honest, I'm a little bit confused on this play. It's a 1st and 10, and I can't tell if this is just a terrible rep from Drake Maye or if the offense did something specific that Drake Maye was supposed to do. I can't really tell because I feel like Drake Maye shouldn't have made this big of an error. Let me know what you guys think. Genuinely, like, I need help on this. But like, to me, it looks like Drake Maye just absolutely stares down his number one, which is Booty, on this dig, but it is just smothered. Like, he's still looking there. It took him forever to get off that read, and he ends up taking a sack here. Like, this just seemed terrible to me, especially when if he just like scanned, if he just like worked across the field, reading from left to right, because you know that this dig is not going to be open right here with how Woolen is playing it, with how Eamon Worry is kind of drifting back. You know it's not going to be open. So why not work across the field? I mean, look at Diggs here. Look at Diggs here. He is wide open. You have to hit that. Oh, man, I just don't understand this play at all. Like, look at Diggs right now. Just rip it to him. Oh, man, that is a brutal miss right there. So this is a decent play from Drake Maye, but once again, it's another simple read. Like, it's just a spacing concept. So you have the flat and then the hitch. So if the flat defender goes to the flat, then you hit the hitch, which is exactly what you see here. He fires it into the hitch. And that tells me, because he's able to do that, but it's more of the like downfield passing concepts that he was just unable to read. So to me, that really tells me that Drake Maye was having trouble digesting what the Seahawks were in. And I don't blame him. The Seahawks defense is very confusing to read because of how much they match and stuff. But it makes sense watching this, that like he's able to hit the quick reads, the easy reads, the very simple ones that like a lot of younger quarterbacks could hit. But the downfield passing concepts he has trouble with because the Seahawks defense is so confusing. But like, he was solid on these. He was solid on these type of plays, and I would have liked to see Josh McDaniels call a little bit more of these. They would have played to his strengths a little bit more, but if they were able to hit more things like this throughout the game, it would have looked a lot better. But I do think that this is a good example of why Drake Maye struggled, because he was able to hit the simple reads, but not the hard ones. And then this is just pure schematic genius from Mike Macdonald. On a 3rd and 4, they come out in that same 3-by-1 set. So Mike Macdonald goes back to that blitz with Devin Witherspoon, but I'm sure he knew that the Patriots were going to try and run that hitch to counter it. So he just buzzed the safety down. Both underneath defenders sprinted over there. Dude had already countered the counter. He is so good. He is such a good coach. Look at it. They run the hitch. It was just smothered. Drake Maye has to work to his second read. It's an incomplete pass. I mean, that is awesome from Mike Macdonald. And then just look at Will Campbell, dude. What is he doing here? This is such a bad rep. He tried to hit the jump set, just really bad leverage, attacked the inside shoulder. I broke this down on the main page, and then it just allowed for D-Law to come around the edge, blow up this pass. I think Drake Maye probably was going to be able to hit the tight end just settling in between zones. This was a great route from him. So that was fine from the Patriots, but Will Campbell completely blew up that play. Now, this was the first time Mike Macdonald brought that nickel blitz with Devin Witherspoon on something other than a third down. So this was on a 2nd and 10, and they come out in that 3-by-1 set. He brings the nickel once again. And I liked Mike Macdonald's play call. You get the safety buzzing down, that takes away the slot receiver. You get the underneath zone dropping right to Diggs. He boxes him out or cuts him off. And then you get the flat to Travion Henderson. That's what they ultimately hit. But like, it only holds them to 4 yards. Like, that's a good defensive play. And just kept him to 4 yards. Like, that is just sound defense. And it's what you see from the Seahawks all the time. It is mistake-free football, and that's why I love watching their defense. And then the final rep that we're going to look at is just a brutal rep from the offensive line. I mean, you get the 3 tech working so hard upfield. Drake Maye has to adjust, and then the edge works underneath. I think that was a pretty well-designed stunt and well-executed stunt, and it worked out for a nice sack, but Drake Maye fumbles, Seahawks recover. That's kind of a microcosm of the game right there. So for a summary of this Patriots offense, I thought Josh McDaniels could have had a much better game plan. It seemed like they weren't playing to the strengths of Drake Maye, especially as the game progressed. You notice that Drake Maye was doing well on the more simple reads, like I was saying, but it's on the more complex reads where he has to work all the way from left to right or something like that, that he struggled with, kind of like that rep that we saw down near his own goal line that I said was the worst of the day. That's the kind of stuff he was struggling with because the Seahawks defense is pretty complex and it's pretty confusing, especially for a young quarterback. So I don't think Josh McDaniels did a great job setting him up for success. And then you combine that with the fact that they ran it on first down so often, and the Seahawks were just smothering the run on first down. You notice that like real early in the game on the first couple drives, they could run the ball. And that resulted in a few first downs. But then when they kept going back to the run on similar down and distance, they just kept getting stuffed. And it resulted in those 2nd and longs, 3rd and longs. And I just did not think it was a very good play calling day or a good game plan from Josh McDaniels. And then Drake Maye obviously could have played better. There were a lot of instances that he really struggled. The offensive line could have played a lot better, but all credit goes to that Seahawks defense. They are so well coached. That defensive line is so good. That secondary is so good. That is such a good defense. And you just see all of it in the film. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. I did, even though it was kind of a boring Super Bowl. I thought it was schematically interesting. But let me know what you guys think. I appreciate all the support. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed.